Episode 7 of Ahsoka has finally arrived, and we are going to see Grand Admiral Thrawn in action, showcasing his expertise in the art of war and to always be one step ahead of his foes. Or is he? Here is a spoiler for all of you. He is in fact not going to do any of that, but more of that later. Episode 7 of Ahsoka opens up with General Syndulla being summoned in front of the New Republic's Oversight Committee because in previous episodes she fails to provide any evidence of the so-called Imperial remnants and rumored return of the Grand Admiral, even though she could have asked Ahsoka to communicate with Mon Mothma or Huyang, or even testimonies from the surviving members of her mini-rebellion that actually saw Morgan Elsbeth's ship taking off into hyperspace. Instead, we get another Remember Berry in the form of C-3PO. Apparently off-screen, the General had contacted Senator Leia Organa, and in true Leia fashion, she sends C-3PO to do her bidding instead of actually contacting the committee herself via holocron. Why do you ask did she not do that? Well, I suspect that number 1, Disney refused to recast adult Leia Organa, and number 2, Dave Filoni blew the whole episode's CGI budget on the space whale space battles, because as we all know, he has a thing for those whales. So there will be no leftover money to commission for Skinwalker versions of Leia. I am looking at you, Rogue One. And then we move on to Ahsoka, our main character, who is still traveling inside the space whales that could somehow jump into hyperspace and could somehow arrive to the exact location where Thrawn and Sabine is located. The positive in this episode is we get to see more of Hayden Christensen. However, he only appears as a hologram recording message that he apparently sends to Ahsoka. More than 20 of those recordings for her to listen during training. Anyways, I have no problem with that, but it begs the question, did Ahsoka share any of these priceless recordings with Anakin's son? You might have heard of him. His name is Luke Skywalker. Because as we establish in the Boba Fett series, Mandalorian Season 2.5, that Ahsoka has the ample time and opportunity to show these to Luke. Maybe she left some of the recordings behind. But as we can see in this episode, she chose to keep the whole collection to herself. We then move to Thrawn talking with Morgan Elsbeth, where in the last episode, Thrawn asked for every single known data on Ahsoka Tano, which is surprising, because you would think that after all these years stranded on that planet, Thrawn could have pulled up a database on known associates of Ezra, Hera, and the other rebels, and surely he would have heard of Ahsoka and her infamous Jedi Master Anakin. But no. Thrawn in the Ahsoka series needed everything to be fed through Elsbeth and these witches who also have the power to locate hidden spacecraft outside the planet's atmosphere. Impressive. I guess long-range scanners are useless then. Anyway, we then get some throwaway lines from the Grand Admiral, seemingly knowing the mannerism and strategy that was used by Anakin would also be applicable to Ahsoka as well. And in this scene he said, "No matter which direction she takes, we'll always be one step ahead of her." Whatever do you mean? Oh, but we will see in the end that Thrawn's tactics makes no sense whatsoever. After that, we fast forward to Ezra and Sabine. In this case, both are making small talk, and Sabine showed very little emotion to have finally reunited with her best friend in the whole galaxy. Not only that, but Sabine is also dodging pretty much all of Ezra's questions, such as, "How did you get here?" "Oh, did you get trained by Ahsoka? That's nice. Where is Ahsoka?" Sabine says it's complicated to both questions, like this is some Facebook relationship status update, and of course, Ezra just drops it and never asks about it again. Sabine shows basically no remorse here by basically betraying everything that Ahsoka has tried to achieve in the show just to get to Ezra. And now she's finally reunited with him and can't even bother to tell him the modicum of truth. Such a trustworthy friend she is. Next, we get a total ripoff of Empire Strikes Back, and the show is trying to convince us that Ahsoka and Sabine's bond is so strong, Ahsoka could send Sabine's exact location on the planet. Sabine, who has been established in the series as not force sensitive as, let's say, I don't know, maybe Ezra? But whatever. We know in the end, Sabine will get her final Captain Marvel moment. Fast forward to a scene between Baylan and Shin, in which Baylan refuses to join her to finish off Ezra and Sabine. This makes no sense whatsoever, and Shin even rightfully questions his motives. Not only Baylan and Shin could have committed into finishing the two heroes before Ahsoka arrives, but we later learn that Ezra refuses to use his very own lightsaber, and even a blaster for some reason, because as we all know, every male Jedi in Disney Star Wars that went into hiding turns into a hermit that no longer wants to fight using their lightsaber anymore. This has been their MO since 2019. And let's be honest, if Ezra uses it, Sabine will have no spotlight in the show. Ezra said the Force is his ally. It's all he needs, he says. Until the two gunships sent by Thrawn arrives, and he was forced to use blasters to defeat the stormtroopers. Why don't you just use the blasters in the first place? This show makes no sense whatsoever. Not to worry, these stormtroopers can't hit Ezra at all because as established in The Mandalorian, they truly have bad aim, and every time they hit Sabine, it will always be on her Beskar armor and nowhere else. A literal plot armor, if you must. At the same time, Baylan had predicted the exact location where Ahsoka would have jumped off her ship and was waiting for her for another mediocre duel, because after episode 5, Hayden Christensen's lightsaber skill have outmatched practically everyone in the show. However, there are some good news. Ahsoka finally remembers to use her second lightsaber that she kinda forgot about when Baylan defeated her the first time. No matter, Ahsoka would just use a distraction from Huyang on the ship to steal Baylan's space horse and ride to save the day. Joy. Now here is where Thrawn's plan is fatally flawed and confusing at best. He wanted to kill both Ezra and Sabine. He had no qualm with that, which is why he sends not only 2 Siths, but a cavalry unit of some sort, and 2 gunships filled with stormtroopers. These resources alone could have easily taken out both Ezra and Sabine, because as we've witnessed here, Thrawn is assessing the operation in real time and gave out orders on how to proceed the encirclement. However, as soon as Gandalf the White arrives, Ahsoka the White arrives, the tide of the battle was turned completely. And Thrawn, the great strategist that he is, ordered his troops to fall back. Why? They are surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned, even with the 2 gunships keeping overwatch. Why not just finish the job? It turns out Thrawn's justifications was that he had almost finished the loading of the cargo into his Star Destroyer and preparing to leave the planet. Now, I would have agreed with this tactic if it was mentioned from the beginning that they needed to stall the heroes before they can disrupt the cargo. However, Thrawn was totally prepared to kill them before Ahsoka somehow arrives and ruin his big plan, but he was too proud to admit the fact. This show tried to portray Thrawn as this big final boss of the remnants of the Empire, a brilliant admiral, an expert in the art of war, but can't even take out 2 Jedi apprentices who are sitting ducks before Ahsoka arrive. We all know why the writers make it this way. It's because they needed an excuse to make an 8th episode, unlike the Boba Fett series, which is horrendous in every way, and had only 7 episodes. The season finale is coming up next, and this show has given me no reason why I should take Thrawn seriously, because he has miserably failed tactics in this episode. It doesn't make me care about the relationship between Ezra and Sabine, because Sabine refuses to open up to Ezra on what actually happened. Hence, there was zero emotional connection. And then there is your main character, Ahsoka Tano, who is much more happy to see Ezra in the end than Sabine, and I don't blame her. At least Ezra can show more emotions and actually trying his best to defend his friends and not betray them for their personal gains.